Hi guys, Dr. Rob Barrington here with some more nutrition advice. The most common question I get asked, the most common topic with regard to people asking me questions is undoubtedly to do with depression and anxiety. I would say that well over half of the questions I get via email regarding people that have depression, sometimes quite severe, or they suffer from anxiety, or both. If you look around and you look at your group of friends as well, and you speak to them, you see that it appears that more people are becoming depressed and anxious. And I wonder if this is something to do with modern life, modern living. There is obviously, you turn on the news, everything is about fear. You're always in constant fear of losing your job. There's the problems of debt, and really, as a society, it's not surprising that levels of depression and anxiety are increasing. This is exactly what you'd expect based on the type of society that we live in. Now, obviously, it's very difficult to take yourself out of that society. We're really trapped in this system. So it's very difficult to treat depression if you can't take away the thing that's causing it. And I would suggest that in many people's cases, it's actually the society we're living in that's causing this depression and anxiety. That's the bad news. Obviously, you can't take yourself away from that. But there are nutritional things that you can do to make yourself more resilient to depression and anxiety. And I'm going to do a series of videos to try and help people to understand some of the nutritional strategies that they can use in order to be able to minimize the damage from this stress that we get from daily living. The first thing to say is that really you need to make sure you have a high quality diet. Your base diet has to be of the highest quality. Being healthy, having a high quality diet makes you very resilient. It makes you very resilient to damage from stress of all different kinds. So that would make you more resilient to physical activity. The stress from physical activity, physical exertion, would make you more resilient to infection. It would also make you more resilient to what I would call the psychological stress that we all get through our daily lives. So a high quality baseline diet is really what you should be aiming for. And I don't want to go into that now, because really all of my videos have been giving this information about how to improve your diet. So you can go through my other videos and you can look at videos made by other people and do your own research on the internet to find out what a high quality diet is. I want to really focus in these series of videos on individual nutritional tricks, strategies, maybe some herbs as well, that you can use in order to be able to help yourself and make yourself more resilient to succumbing to these depressive and anxious feelings. I thought I'd start with fatty acids. Fatty acids is an often overlooked area that can be very useful in actually helping with anxiety and depression. And in particular, I wanted to talk about the omega-3 fats. There are other fats that are important, some that you need to avoid, some that you need to make sure in your diet. Before I go into the omega-3 fatty acids, I just want to talk briefly about cholesterol. If you are on cholesterol-lowering medication, or you're on a very low cholesterol diet, that could very well be the cause of your depressive feelings, because cholesterol is required by the brain. The brain has a lot of cholesterol, and it uses that cholesterol in the cell membranes. The cholesterol is there to regulate the fluidity of cell membranes, and if you remove the cholesterol from your diet and follow a very low cholesterol diet, or you take medication that lowers cholesterol levels, or even nutrients that lower cholesterol levels, over certain nutrients can lower cholesterol levels as well quite considerably. This can in the long term actually detrimentally affect the function of the brain, and studies have looked at this, and those people with very low cholesterol levels, not surprisingly, they have an increased risk of death by violent death and suicide. particularly if they're taking medication. So it's very important to make sure that you don't follow one of these low cholesterol diets. I'm not an advocate of the cholesterol theory of heart disease. I see no benefit really of lowering cholesterol levels. It's not really something I want to get into in this video, but if you have a look at some of my other videos on cholesterol, you'll see my my reasoning behind that statement. A healthy diet should contain cholesterol, and your body will make the cholesterol you need if you have a healthy diet. The liver is perfectly capable of synthesizing cholesterol unless you're taking medication to prevent that synthesis, in which case your body may actually be depleted in cholesterol, and therefore that may affect the function of the brain. So looking at your cholesterol in your diet, if you're eating a normal mixed diet, the chances are you are eating enough cholesterol. Eggs are a very good source of cholesterol, and your body, unless you're taking medication, should be able to make all the cholesterol you need. It is synthesized in the liver, and it can make quite considerable amounts because your body needs large amounts. The reason the liver synthesizes large amounts of cholesterol is because it needs large amounts of cholesterol. It's the precursor to all your steroid hormones that you synthesize, and as I say, it's used in cell membranes, it's used in wound repair, and it's a very important substance in the body. So cholesterol is one thing to look at. Generally, I think most people will have enough cholesterol in their diet, and most people will be able to synthesize enough. And it's usually the people that are taking cholesterol lowering medication, the statins, that are actually at risk of this situation where they have too little cholesterol. Moving on to the omega-3 fatty acids, this is another area that people often overlook. Even people who take what I would consider a reasonably high quality diet often overlook the significance of taking in omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids are very important, as are omega-6 fatty acids. They're both essential, so they have vitamin-like properties in the body. Your body will require the omega-6 fatty acid linoleic acid, and it will require the omega-3 fatty acid alpha-linolenic acid. Now, the important thing that many people overlook is that they're not needed in absolute amounts. They're needed in a ratio, and getting that ratio right is very, very important. It's been shown in scientific studies that the actual amount you take in is not as important as the ratio between the two. Now, this is contentious, and I wouldn't ever state that the ratio is known, but generally it's accepted that you need about 3 grams of linoleic acid for every 1 gram of alpha-linolenic acid. So that's 3 grams of the omega-6 type of fatty acids for every gram of the omega-3 fatty acids. Now, you can take the omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids in different forms. You don't have to take the parent compound, linoleic acid or alpha-linolenic acid. You can actually take metabolites, and you can find metabolites of omega-6 fatty acids for sale. For example, gamma-linolenic acid, which you find in evening primrose oil, is a metabolite. In other words, it fits in further down the pathway. It's a metabolite of linoleic acid. The fish oils that people take, so icosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid, are metabolites of alpha-linolenic acid, and they're omega-3 fatty acids. And you need about 3 grams of the omega-6 for every 1 gram of the omega-3. If you eat a Western diet, a typical Western diet, you will probably have a ratio of around 20 grams of linoleic acid to about 1 gram of alpha-linolenic acid. So 20 grams of the omega-6s to 1 gram of the omega-3s, and the end result of this is twofold. Firstly, it causes inflammation. That's a pro-inflammatory diet. When you have too many omega-6s in your diet, it causes inflammation, and that inflammation leads to disease and disruption and cellular and tissue problems. So that's the first thing to note. The second thing to note is that the omega-3 fatty acids, the metabolites, particularly one of the fish oils, docosahexaenoic acid, is required actually for cell membranes, and in particular the brain likes to incorporate docosahexaenoic acid into its cell membranes. Now, this is where we start to come into the usefulness of omega-3 fatty acids in depression and possibly anxiety and other cognitive disorders as well, because science has shown Nutritional research has shown, medical research has shown that those people that are deficient in omega-3 fatty acids tend to have problems with their cell membranes in their brains, and this may have a number of effects. And for example, one of the effects may be that the monoamine oxidase inhibitor, the monoamine oxidase enzymes in the brain may become dysfunctional, or they may become overactive. Another problem may be that neurotransmitters are not synthesized correctly, and another problem could be that the brain is not able to send signals to from neuron to neuron through the use of neurotransmitters efficiently, because the cell membranes are not functioning correctly. So this problem with cell membranes that occurs because of a lack of omega-3 fatty acids in the brain can actually have implications for the synthesis, the breakdown, and the use of serotonin in the brain. So this all relates to depression, and it also could relate to anxiety if serotonin and these other neurotransmitters are involved in the cause of depression. Now, I have to say as well that the current theory suggests that low levels of serotonin or a disruption to the serotonin system may be a cause or a possible risk factor in the development of depression. However, this is incredibly complex, and again I have to say that I don't think we could really say that that is the case. There is some evidence that it is a causative factor, but there may well be other factors as well. So simply thinking along the lines of increasing the serotonin levels of your brain, that would be how a doctor would think in order to be able to treat depression and anxiety. And if you actually artificially increase serotonin levels, some people do actually get a decrease in their symptoms of depression and anxiety. So it does seem to have some effect, but some people aren't affected. And some people it doesn't seem to help very much, but they get some mild effects. So I would suggest that there are other factors as well. There are other neurotransmitters, there are other factors in the brain that are actually causing depression. So fixating sometimes just on serotonin may not be the best way, and that's why nutrition is a very good way of treating depression and anxiety, because it's holistic. It can come at the problem from many different directions, and that makes it more likely that you're going to find something that is successful. The disadvantage of nutrition is there's lots of trial and error, and because of our biochemical individualities and the differences in our diets, it's actually very difficult to give people specific advice unless you actually work with them closely. Generic videos like this they're useful, but you have to become your own nutritionist. You have to be able to see what works for you, and you have to take the meat and leave the bones. Some of the things I say won't help certain people, and in that case they need to ignore that and move on to something else. So looking at going back to omega-3 fatty acids, that's something to look at. Where do we get our omega-3 fatty acids from? Well, we can get alpha-linolenic acid from plants. Plants produce alpha-linolenic acid, and when we eat plants and the products of plants, we can take in that alpha-linolenic acid. So flax seeds, for example, have quite high amounts of alpha-linolenic acid. Hemp seeds have quite high amounts of alpha-linolenic acid, and green leafy vegetables generally contain alpha-linolenic acid as well. So if you eat a plant-rich diet and you supplement with nuts and seeds, walnuts are another source of alpha-linolenic acid, you can get enough alpha-linolenic acid in your diet. The problem is that many people are genetically deficient in the enzyme that is required to convert the alpha-linolenic acid into the substances that are actually used by the body, which are the icosapentaenoic acid and the docosahexaenoic acid, and some of the other metabolites that are further down the pathway. So this is a problem, and many people who supplement with, for example, flaxseed oil, find that it doesn't actually benefit them, and it actually makes their inflammation worse. It can, for example, if you were taking it for a skin condition and you take your flaxseed oil, some people actually find their skin conditions get worse, and this is because they are deficient in the enzyme required to convert the alpha-linolenic acid into the substances required. And that's why I always suggest jump straight to the fish oils. Fish oils are a much better source of the omega-3 fatty acids, because they're down. The icosapentaenoic acid, the docosahexaenoic are further downstream. They're actually the substances that will be used by the body. The disadvantage of fish oils is that they tend to be oxidized, and therefore that can lead to a little bit of lipid peroxidation in your body. So you need to take high amounts of antioxidants if you take high amounts of fish oils. But remember, it's the ratio that is important, not the absolute amount. So you need to try and assess in some way the amount of omega-3 fatty acids that you have in your diet, and you can find food tables online. There are a number of different sites where you can actually put your diet in, and it will work out roughly how many omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids you will have in your diet. And that is the place to start, really. This is what, this is, as a nutritionist, this is what I would be paid to do, to work with somebody. I would have to work out in their diet what they had, using food tables and analysing their diet. And it's a very laborious process, and it can be very difficult sometimes, and there's a lot of guesswork involved. But this is something that you need to do to be able to see what your current ratio is. If your ratio is not anywhere near 3 grams of omega-6 to 1 gram of omega-3, and you do have symptoms of depression or anxiety, this could be a very interesting nutritional area for you to look at. If you can get the ratio back somewhere towards the 3-to-1 magic ratio, and again, I have to say this might differ between different people, so if you get yours to 3-to-1 and it's not helpful, you maybe go to 4-to-1 or you go to 2-to-1. You need to play around with this, because it's not actually known, and nutritionists and scientists don't actually know what the correct ratio is, but it's somewhere between 1-to-1, a ratio of 1-to-1, which is maybe it may even be 1-to-2 in some populations like the Eskimos, so it may be from 1-to-2 anywhere up to about 5-to-1 as the range of ratios. Certainly, if you eat a typical Western diet and if you've got 20-to-1, that is way too much omega-6 fatty acids. The typical Western diet is very deplete in omega-3 fatty acids. So if you're eating a typical Western diet, you'll almost certainly have an imbalance. If you find you are low in omega-3 fatty acids, the best way to get your omega-3 fatty acids, like I say, is the downstream metabolites. So that would be fish oils. The best way to get fish oils is through eating fish. However, I do understand, obviously, some people are vegetarian and some people don't like eating fish. The people that don't like fish can take fish oil capsules if they can stomach them. The people that are vegetarian can actually get docosahexaenoic acid as an algal product. It's synthesized by algae. That's how fish actually get their long chain fatty acids. They eat the algae and then accumulate the fats in their body. But you can go straight to the algae. Algae are grown in tanks. They're grown in very controlled conditions, free of pollution, and you can actually buy algal tablets containing DHA, the docosahexaenoic acid, which you can take. So there's no excuse for vegetarians not to get DHA, and there's no excuse for non-vegetarians. Everybody can take a DHA supplement, and that obviously in the correct ratio may actually improve the fluidity of your cell membranes, and that may actually be one of the problems, one of the causes of depression in certain people. Certainly there is research showing that omega-3 fatty acids do have a beneficial effect. Fish oils have been shown to have effects on people with mild depression, and also there has been a lot of studies on docosahexaenoic acid and icosapentaenoic acid and their effects on cell membranes in the brains of mammals. And certainly there is a link between this fluidity in the membranes and the development of depression. However, I will have to state this again, it's very difficult to get rid of depression if you don't get rid of the source of the depression. And obviously our existence in this very modern world, this very stress-filled modern world is too much for some people to cope, and they do get these depressive and anxious feelings. This is really, if you can think of this as trying to make yourself more resilient to this stress in the environment, and all of these nutritional tricks should actually help. But if you can actually isolate the source of your depression or your anxiety and eliminate it from your life, that is going to go a long way to actually to getting rid of these symptoms that you're feeling. So I hope that was helpful. Don't forget cholesterol in your diet. Don't forget your fatty acids. One other thing to say about fatty acids is that if you do have a lot of trans fatty acids in your diet, so if you're eating a typical Western diet, trans fats will inhibit the metabolism of essential fatty acids, and therefore that can also disrupt your cell membranes. And the last thing to say about fatty acid metabolism is that high insulin levels can also inhibit the conversion of these parent compounds into their metabolites that are required. So if you've got a lot of carbohydrate in your diet, if you've got insulin resistance, you can actually find that you have disrupted essential fatty acid metabolism in your body, and therefore lowering your insulin levels and getting your insulin sensitivity up is another way that you can actually increase the efficiency of this metabolic pathway. Because really what we want is the brain. We want the brain to have all of the nutrients it requires in the right amounts. So we don't want inflammation, we don't want there to be a pro-inflammatory situation in the body, and we don't want there to be this disruption to the fluidity of the cell membranes, so that the synthesis and the metabolism of neurotransmitters in the brain is not inhibited in any way. And certainly the omega-3 fatty acids appear to be quite intricately linked in this membrane fluidity, as is cholesterol. So cholesterol and these omega-3 fats, they're important substances in the body, and they're particularly important to the brain, and they do appear to affect the function of the brain. And one of those functions that may actually inhibit is the synthesis of serotonin, and that may have a knock-on effect on depression and anxiety. So there's something to think about, something to look into. There's a lot more information on this on my website. I've written articles about fish oils and how they may be incorporated into the neurons in the brain. If you have any questions about this, please either go to my blog and email me through the contact form, or you can leave a question in the comments box below this video. As always, I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Apologise if I don't get back to you within a few days. If you do send a question and I haven't answered within a week or so, please send another email, because sometimes I do forget that people have emailed. So I'm not deliberately ignoring people. It's just that sometimes I do have too much to do, and it's very difficult to catch up with people's emails. So I hope that was useful. If you've got any questions, please ask them, and I will see you again soon for another video. And in the meantime, take care.